Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to Emergency Management Associates. We're coming to you from the Area Command, live from the Area Command, 392 miles west of Kitty Hawk Beach, North Carolina. I am going to stall around for just a few minutes to get some people here in our chat and make sure people are watching this program because what we have to say today is very important. I want to make sure we're getting the message out to the masses. Okay. Some of these earthquakes that we're going to talk about tonight happened yesterday, but they're still going on today. That's the issue. The earthquakes are still happening today. Regardless of what USBS wants to say, they're still happening today. Earthquakes are still happening today. Rebecca the Explorer just tried calling me on the phone. I'm sure she's going to find out that we're on the air. Rebecca, we're on the air if you want to join us. Earthquakes. She asked what we're talking about. We're talking about earthquakes. See you, bye. Okay, I think she's going to join us here. I hope she is. Bailey is here in our chat. We appreciate Bailey being here. I want to wait around just a few more minutes until we get some more people here in our chat. I think what we have to talk about today is very important, and I want to wait around for some more people to get here. Now, yes, it is early. I understand that. Over on the West Coast, it is only 9 a.m. in the morning. Over in California, Oregon, and Washington, and Nevada, and some parts of Arizona, it is still 9 a.m. in the morning. I understand that's early. It's 12 noon here on the East Coast. But what we have to talk about is very important. That's why we're here today. I want to welcome Kim Possibly for being here. I want to welcome, excuse me, got something in my eye. Kim Possibly, This Crazy Life, Sergeant Johnson is here. Mamaru is here. Welcome. Rebecca Griffin is here. Welcome, welcome. We appreciate you here, Rebecca. We haven't seen you in a while. We appreciate you being here. Okay, what I'm going to talk about now is important. I would like everybody to please pay attention to what we're doing here. Okay. Yesterday we had another very large earthquake, very strong earthquake. This volcano here erupted right after that earthquake hit. Okay. Now I cannot even pronounce the name of this earthquake. I mean this volcano. That's how new it is. Okay. This volcano has not erupted for 600 years. This is the first time this earthquake has erupted in 600 years. Okay? Unreal. Really unreal. Now, why is that important? Because, guys, we've had some major earthquakes southeast of the Kamchatka Peninsula. On Thursday, we had an 8.79.0 earthquake, and USGS has said it was a 9.0 earthquake. However, I believe it was a 9.4 earthquake. Major 9.4 earthquake on Thursday. However, we've continued to have earthquakes over in the Kamchatka Peninsula ever since. This earthquake, I believe, is called the Krasheninnikov earthquake, this volcano is I believe it's called the Krasheninnikov volcano. As I said, it has not erupted for the past 600 years. But the issue is this, okay? This is the largest eruption on Earth. This has been the largest volcanic eruption on Earth. Okay? The eruption topped off at over 4 miles high. Over 4 miles high. Okay? That, that is over 21,000 feet high. One of the largest eruptions in history. Okay, incredible. Incredible. Now, what happened here? Let's go back to this earthquake here. Okay, this earthquake happened at 1:37 a.m. Sunday morning, yesterday morning, off the Kamchatka Peninsula. Now, USGS and the other agencies are saying it was in the Kuril Islands. It was not. It was northeast of the Kuril Islands. This is southeast of the Kamchatka Peninsula, out in the Pacific Ocean. They have it listed here as a 6.8. It was a 7.0 earthquake. Now, since that point in time, we've been having earthquakes before and after the 8.8 9.0 earthquake that I say was a 9.4. We had quite a few earthquakes before that. We even had a 7.4 earthquake. We have foreshocks before and aftershocks after that. But that 7.4 earthquake and the foreshocks and aftershocks were actually foreshocks of the 9.0, 9.4 earthquake that happened Thursday. Now we're still having aftershocks. This earthquake yesterday morning, 7.0 earthquake southeast of the Kamchatka Peninsula, is an aftershock of the 9.0 earthquake. Now, need to explain something. We can even have larger aftershocks. We can have even larger aftershocks than the 9.0, 9.4 earthquake that happened on Thursday. Yes, we can have more aftershocks. Presently, we are seeing 16 5.0 and larger earthquakes here. We're seeing 16 5.0 and larger earthquakes all the way up to 7.0 earthquake happened here off the Kamchatka Peninsula. Presently over here on the Kamchatka Peninsula and off the Kamchatka Peninsula, you're seeing 41 earthquakes today. 41 aftershocks today. And that, hold on with that New Jersey quake, because I'm going to talk about that in just a minute. Okay? But 41 aftershocks today alone. That's not counting the aftershocks we had on Friday. That's not counting any Saturday or any Sunday. This is today. 41 active aftershocks today. That is a lot of earthquakes right here. That is a lot of aftershocks right here. Okay? Now, as I have said before, after that 9.0 earthquake, and even before that, when we had the 7.4 earthquake, and we had foreshocks before that, and aftershocks after that, all of these earthquakes are going to continue to happen. We're going to continue having aftershocks for years. Not months, but years, regardless of whether USGS puts them on the map. Earthquakes are going to continue to happen. I promise you that. Earthquakes are going to continue to happen for a very long time. Again, I want to emphasize that the 9.0, 9.4 earthquake on Thursday was a full plate rupture. A full plate rupture between the Pacific plate, and the Asian European plate here. That's what it's called, the Asian European plate. Okay? Now, again, the Pacific plate is subducting underneath the Asian European plate. That's why we have volcanoes over here on the Kamchatka Peninsula. That is why we have volcanoes here on the Kamchatka Peninsula. You can't have volcanoes without subduction. You can't have subduction without volcanoes. Why? because the subduction causes the land rise. The subduction underneath the plate causes the land to rise, and the magma, as the plate subducts, the magma also rises. The magma also rises within those volcanoes that it creates, and then we have an eruption. Okay? That's why we have an eruption. I wanted to make sure everybody understood that. I think it's very important that we understand what's going on here. Okay? We have not seen this ever before. We've not seen this ever before. That's likely not to happen again. But it's also likely. I shouldn't say it's not likely. It is very likely to happen again. Maybe not right here, but it's going to happen again, time after time after time. Again, I want to emphasize the importance of what we're talking about. We're in the last days, okay? Now, I understand there are a lot of people here that are not Christian. I get that. But I want to tell you what I know to be true. I'm not going to de-emphasize anything. Okay? We were promised that in the last days we would see upheavals. Not just upheavals of the earth, but upheavals above the earth as well. We've seen that. We've seen hurricanes. We've seen tornadoes. We've seen asteroids flying above our earth. We've had a couple asteroids hit the earth in Russia. All kinds of things are happening. We need to keep our eyes peeled. We need to actually keep our eyes peeled. Things are going to happen. Okay? Things are definitely going to happen. If we don't keep our eyes peeled, then we're not going to be able to see or do anything. I'm telling you that right now. Everybody, and I mean everybody, needs to understand where we're at in history. We need to understand where we are at in our history. Things are going to continue to happen. That you can take to the bank. Now, with this earthquake here that you're seeing here, it's not the only one. It's not the only earthquakes that are happening here. Okay? Does everybody understand what I'm talking about? Now, someone just mentioned that New Jersey earthquake that we had yesterday morning as well. Okay? I want to address that as well here. We are going to continue to see earthquakes everywhere. We're going to continue to see earthquakes everywhere. Yesterday morning, we had another 3.0 earthquake. A 3.0 magnitude earthquake that was reported at 10:17 p.m. near Hasbrook Heights, New Jersey. Now it says here that some New Yorkers may have felt that quake. They did feel that quake. They didn't feel it in downtown Manhattan, New York. But New Yorkers felt that earthquake. Now, this report says at this time, no damage has been reported to New York City Emergency Management. Con Edison reported no impacts related to this event. There are no known issues reported to New York City Emergency Management affecting utility services, transportation systems, traffic flow, or structural stability across the city in New York or New Jersey. Operations continue as normal, while later reports or developments could change the picture. This event in New Jersey, the 3.0 earthquake in New Jersey, appears to have been a minimal impact. Aftershocks sometimes follow earthquakes, but no additional seismic activity has been reported so far. But should an aftershock take place, be ready to act. If you feel shaking, hold on. Drop to the ground. Take cover under something sturdy. A very sturdy table, heavy-duty table, or desk. Drop under the desk. Cover your head, cover your body, and hold on to the legs and make sure the table doesn't leave you behind. Stay underneath the table until the shaking stops. If you felt the shaking, you might also be able to help improve, you should be able to improve earthquake science by submitting a report to the USGS website. You can send a report to the USGS website. You can also send a report to the EMSC, the European website as well. Okay? Now with this said, this earthquake is just one more earthquake in New Jersey. This earthquake in New Jersey has a foreshock. Okay? The foreshock was actually a much larger earthquake. 2 years ago here in New Jersey, almost in the same place, we had a very large, I shouldn't say very large, we had a large 5.1 earthquake here. We had a large 5.1 earthquake here, and I am astounded that either Fox News, CBS, NBC, ABC, MSDNC, or any other CNN, the Communist News Network, none of them have even said anything about the previous 5.1 earthquake here 2 years ago. They should have. Because after that 5.1 earthquake, we had numerous aftershocks. And this may very well be an aftershock. But we have not had this large of an aftershock since that 5.1 hit. And this is not, I want to emphasize, this is not a large earthquake. 3.0, 3.5 earthquakes are small earthquakes. They are small earthquakes. Now, we may very well continue to see earthquakes here in New Jersey and New York. That can happen. But you also need to be advised that we are going to see earthquakes around the world. We're going to see earthquakes around the world, and these are not going to stop. USGS does not report all the earthquakes. We know that. As far as I'm concerned, USBS is nothing more than an extension of the Communist News Network because they are not reporting actual information. They're not reporting actual information. They're lying about it. If you lie about something, you may not tell the truth. That is a lie. You might not even tell anything. You may not say anything if you know about it. But if you withheld information, that is a lie. If you withhold information, that is a lie. And that's exactly what this agency is doing. They're lying to the public. They didn't used to do that. Back in the 70s, 80s, and even 90s, I don't believe they withheld information. But during the last 25 years, they've been withholding more and more information, and they are being told to do so. Every one of these agencies being told to withhold information. The Europeans don't withhold as much information as the American USGS agency, but they all do it because they're told to do it. I've explained this before. Everybody needs to understand what's going on here. And I kid you not, it's going to continue. Now, I have some more information to show you today, to show you what exactly is going on. Let's go down to Mexico. I want to show you what is going on. Well, actually, before that, let's go up to the western part of British Columbia, Canada. Let's go over here to Queen Charlotte Peninsula here. Now they've called it Haida Gwaii. Haida Gwaii. This island off the coast of British Columbia, Canada, called Haida Gwaii. Used to be called Queen Charlotte Island. Yesterday we had a 3.97 4.0 earthquake here. Look where it's at. It's on the Haida Gwaii megathrust earthquake fault. We talked about this earlier last week. This earthquake fault you see here is now called the Haida Gwaii megathrust earthquake fault. Why is that? Because scientists have determined that this fault is acting exactly like the Cascadia megathrust earthquake fault. And because of that, we are expecting a major earthquake to happen here off the Haida Gwaii megathrust earthquake fault. We are expecting an 8.5 9.0 earthquake to happen here. And scientists are not saying exactly when it will happen. They've not said 5 years from now. They've not said 25 years from now. It could happen imminently. That 8.5 9.0 magnitude earthquake that is expected to happen here along this same fault zone can happen imminently. And just like we had that huge tsunami after Thursday's earthquake off the Kamchatka Peninsula, this megathrust earthquake fault can generate a tsunami just as large as the Cascadia megathrust earthquake fault can, upwards of 90 to 150 feet high. A tsunami 90 to 150 foot high. Because this earthquake fault is so close to Haida Gwaii, the residents here on Haida Gwaii will have almost no warning, maybe 5 minutes if that. They will have a tsunami hitting their shoreline within 5 minutes after the earthquake. As I have explained before, with the Cascadia megathrust earthquake fault, we will expect to have a huge, huge tsunami after the Cascadia earthquake. Okay, as I said, that tsunami will occur and it will happen. And the tsunami wave will be between 75 feet high to 150 feet high. That's off the coast of Vancouver, British Columbia. That's off the coast of Seattle, Tacoma, Washington, off the coast of Oregon as well. And in fact, that tsunami will affect Haida Gwaii. That tsunami will affect Alaska. That tsunami will go up and down the entire coastline of North America, all the way down to northern Mexico. The tsunami after the Cascadia earthquake will go all the way to Alaska and all the way down to northern Mexico, and it will also spread to the Western Pacific, to Russia, to Japan, to Korea, to China, to Southeast Asia, all the way down to Indonesia, Hawaii, the Southern Pacific Islands, Papua New Guinea, Australia, and New Zealand, just like the Kamchatka earthquake the other day. That tsunami spread through the entire Pacific coast, all up and down the entire ring of fire. All up and down the entire ring of fire. That is what we are expecting out of the Cascadia megathrust earthquake. And this megathrust earthquake in Canada is going to be much the same thing. Much the same thing. Do I have any questions? Majority report is asking, can the tsunami go all the way up the Columbia River to Portland? Let me explain that. Let me take down this map here. When the tsunami happens, the water is going to roar inland. As that water roars inland, the water coming from the ocean will occupy the riverbeds. The ocean water will occupy the riverbeds, and spreading the water out on the riverbeds are going to overflow their banks. The riverbeds are going to overflow the banks. So yes, the Columbia River and any other rivers and creeks in that area will overflow their banks. There will be a massive flooding. Massive flooding. Some scientists are saying that the flooding will not go any more than 5 miles inland. But I want to say this. I don't believe the scientists are even knowing what they're talking about. Why is that? Because every time you have a very narrow bunch of buildings, such as the Seattle skyline, Seattle and the Tacoma area have high rises. Anytime the water goes between narrower places, what happens? It speeds up, doesn't it? The water speeds up and it goes further inland. So saying that the tsunami water will not go any more than 5 miles in, I think is a mistake. I believe that water could go further inland, and everybody needs to prepare for that eventuality. Now, I used to have some people that lived in Seattle that were on this chat, and I believe they're still around someplace. They may have passed on, but I don't know that. There were 2 sisters here, in fact, the Tucker sisters. Some of you may remember them from way back when I first started this broadcast. They said they lived in a high-rise in downtown Seattle, high-rise apartment. Now, for some people to live in the lower areas of those high-rises, you might not end up surviving. You might not survive the quake. You might not survive the tsunami. Being a 100, 150-foot tsunami, you might not survive. But some other places might. Some other apartments on some other levels might survive it. Okay? It might be hard, but you might survive it. But what I am telling you now is you must make preparedness actions now. You must take actions now to save yourselves and save your families. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm not going to tell you to move or not move. But what I'm telling you now is you must take preparedness actions. You must take preparedness actions, and you must do it almost immediately. Thunderbird is asking, will the volcanoes go up too? Meager is a volcano near Whistler. Will all the volcanoes go off? It's possible. It is possible, but I don't think it will happen. Now, as I've said before, you may not have been here when I said this before. I'm going to repeat this again. After the Cascadia megathrust earthquake happened, there was a mariner out to sea, a sailor on a boat out to sea off the Washington coast. He made a note in his logbook on the ship The logbook on the ship said that he saw either Mount Rainier or Glacier Peak erupting. He saw Mount Rainier and or Glacier Peak erupting at the time of the Cascadia earthquake. So I believe, as I said before, that we are going to have an imminent eruption at Mount St. Helens and or Mount Rainier, and it's going to be imminent. It's going to be imminent. I've been interviewing a man named Captain Ned on my program once 2 weeks ago and again this past week on Thursday. He was on the show. He said then, and he's a fisherman, guys. He's a resident fisherman in Washington. He goes over ocean shores. I've shown you the seismogram from ocean shores. I've shown you the earthquakes that are hitting the coastline of Washington and Oregon, and even in British Columbia, Canada. Earthquakes are happening. USGS is saying, oh, nothing's going on. They're showing tiny tremors, 1.0, 1.5, 1.7 tremors. Then why then are residents feeling earthquakes? Why then are residents feeling earthquakes? I've even showed seismographs, which are computer readouts from the seismographs themselves. I've shown seismographs, I've shown seismographs, which are the computer readout from the seismograph itself. I've been showing earthquakes at these various locations. Not just tremors, I've been showing full-blown 2.5, 3.0, and in some cases 4.0 earthquakes happening along the coast of Washington and Oregon. I'm showing seismograms from the volcanoes, Rainier and Mount St. Helens. 2.5 to 3.0, 3.5, and 4.0 to 4.5 earthquakes at both of those volcanoes. And USGS is denying it. USGS and the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network have been denying it. Denying it means not showing it. Not showing it. They don't want to admit it on their maps. Yes, on the seismograms, which are the computer readouts, the data is clear. But even then, they're not showing all the data either. I've proven to you beyond a shadow of a doubt that the seismic information is going to be there. The seismic events are happening, whether or not the agencies want to admit it or not. Yes, they delete information off the seismograms. They delete and or erase information off the seismograms. I've proven it. That's a proven fact. Okay? Brokefish Inn is saying the volcanoes are showing signs of activity. Brokefish Inn lives in Southern Oregon himself. He's watching what's going on. And in fact, he is not far from Crater Lake, which is in South Central Oregon. That volcano in and of itself is also gearing up for an eruption. USGS and the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network used to have five seismographs recording the information, 5 of them. Now they are down to 2. Only 2. Why is that? Because they took off Fleetwood Cove on the northeast side of Crater Lake. They took that one down several months ago. About a month and a half ago, they took down Mount Scott, which was a seismograph that was sitting on the southeast side of Crater Lake. We now have only Bunkhouse, which is on the south central part of Crater Lake. We also have Wizard Island, which is actually the summit of Crater Lake volcano. But the seismograph at Wizard Island is not always accurate because the seismograph itself is exposed. The centers themselves are exposed to all the weather and things going on. whether it be the winds, whether it be hail, whether it's rain or snow. The seismograph cannot record accurate data with it being in the open like it is. So the only accurate data we have at Crater Lake now is the bunkhouse in South Central Oregon. And USGS and the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network have been deleting and or erasing information off the seismograph itself. They've been deleting or erasing information off the seismograph itself. Fact. Fact. Minority report says 600 years around the time of the last huge tsunami. No. Last huge tsunami was 334 years ago after the Cascadia megathrust earthquake happened. Actually, 324 years ago. 324 years ago when the last Cascadia megathrust earthquake happened. January 27th, 1700. That's when it last happened. The Japanese people kept wonderful records. As a tsunami went across the Pacific Ocean, just like the tsunami did after the Russian earthquake last week, across the entire Pacific Basin around the Ring of Fire, to Alaska, to Canada, to the United States mainland, down to Hawaii, all the way down to Mexico, Central America, South America, New Zealand, Australia, Indonesia, Japan, Southeast Asia, China, Korea, all the South Pacific Islands, the Philippines, Hawaii, they all had the tsunami. The same thing happened back in 1700. But only the Japanese people kept great records. They recorded the date and the time the tsunami arrived. That's why we know that there was a Cascadia tsunami. That's why scientists can say the tsunami wave is waves, not just one, tsunami waves can be as high as 75 to 150 foot high. Okay? That's the facts. It's going to continue to happen. Now, let me show you some other information here. Okay, we talked about Haida Gwaii. We talked about the earthquakes off the Kamchatka Peninsula. And we talked about New Jersey. Guess what? It's not the only information that's available. It is not the only information that is available. Let me show you something else. Mexico. Southern Mexico today. Southern Mexico today, guys. Let me show you what's going on there. Look at this. Look at this. 76 earthquakes in southern Mexico. 76 earthquakes in southern Mexico. They are either 4.5 down to 3.2. 4.5 in magnitude to 3.2 in magnitude. Up and down the entire southern Mexican coastline, all the way out to eastern Mexico as well. Look at that. Look at that, guys. And that's not all. That's not all. Let me show you another another map here. Central America. Oh, darn it. Okay, I'm sorry I don't have the map to Central America, but I will show you that tonight. In Central America, get this. There are 26 earthquakes in Central America. 26 earthquakes in Central America. Those are anywhere from 2.4 on up to 3.9 earthquakes. Actually, on up to 4.2. There is one 4.2 earthquake in Costa Rica. Again, the USGS is not showing it. Why not? Inquiring minds want to know. I want to know. You want to know. Why? Because these earthquakes threaten all of us. All of these earthquakes threaten each one of us. And as a result, we want to know about it. I believe we have a right to know about it. I believe we have a right to know about it. For our own safety, if nothing else. For our own very safety and the safety of our families, if nothing else. There are also 36 earthquakes in South America. 36 earthquakes in South America. Now, USGS rarely shows all the earthquakes in South America. Rarely. Rarely. They almost never show all the earthquakes in Mexico or Central America. They almost never show, in fact, they never show all the earthquakes anywhere in Europe. Never. They might show an earthquake here or there, but that's all. They are lying to the public. They are deceiving the public. They want the public to believe nothing's going on. Marianne Doer Knott says, looking spiffy today, Ron. Well, guess what? I'm going to try to look spiffy every day. One of my buddies in Texas went on the air on his channel yesterday wearing a suit and tie. Well, guess what? I am wearing a white suit and tie, white shirt and tie today. Okay? When something is important enough to talk about, I'm going to be important enough to talk about as well. Juanito Hine is here saying, oh my goodness, yes. I think this is important enough to talk about. Do we have any more questions here? As I said, I thought the information we had to show you today was important enough to come on the air now. Yes, I will be back on the air in another 4 hours, 3.5 hours. We'll talk about these earthquakes and talk about a lot more than that. But I wanted to at least come on the air to talk about what's going on in Haida Gwaii, because that earthquake could trigger something else. That one earthquake in Haida Gwaii could trigger something else. We've talked about this many times before. Many, many times before. Last week again, I talked about the Haida Gwaii megathrust earthquake and how it's going to act exactly like the Cascadia and could possibly also endanger the rest of British Columbia, Canada. It could endanger the rest of British Columbia, Canada. The seismic energy will go up to Alaska. It will go down to Vancouver Island, British Columbia, go down into Washington and Oregon, and possibly even down as far as California. Just like the Cascadia megathrust earthquake fault. And the tsunami from this earthquake here will reach the entire Pacific Basin. the entire Pacific Ring of Fire. That's how deadly it's going to be. It's going to be at least an 8.5 to 9.0 earthquake, a megathrust earthquake. Any questions? Richard Smith says he's waiting for the East Coast here to get something soon. It's already getting it. We already had a 3.0 over in New Jersey. 2 years ago, we had a 5.1 in that same area. Now it's picking up again. It's doing the same thing that happened in New Jersey. The same thing is happening now. So we may very well see a larger earthquake in New Jersey, and I believe that energy is going to go all the way up into Canada as well. The energy, the earthquakes. No, we don't have as many earthquakes on the East Coast as we do the West Coast. But we're starting to see earthquakes even on the East Coast. I've been showing you East Coast earthquakes for at least 2 years now. Why? The answer is simple. Let's look at the Atlantic Fault. The Mid-Atlantic Fault originates way down south in the Atlantic Ocean, doesn't it? Goes all the way up to the North Pole. That fault line is going like this. It is expanding. It's expanding. The Mid-Atlantic Fault is pushing Europe and Africa in an easterly direction. On the same token, the Mid-Atlantic Fault is pushing Greenland, North America, Canada, the United States and Mexico in a southeasterly direction. That's why we're seeing earthquakes on the East Coast. Okay? By Friday, I am going to show you an earthquake that happened on the East Coast 5 years ago. 5 years ago here in North Carolina, Sparta, North Carolina had a 5.1 large earthquake, and I have pictures of the damage. 5.1 earthquake 5 years ago. Prior to that, Virginia also had a 7.1 earthquake that caused damage all over Virginia, all the way up into Washington, D.C., damaging the Washington Monument, damaging parts of the Capitol building, other monuments in Washington, D.C., and parts of other buildings and land all over the East Coast. That was a major 7.1 earthquake. We are experiencing these earthquakes as a result of the Mid-Atlantic Fault expansion. Richard Smith says he's been watching the Canadian seismic site, the Great Lakes and St. Lawrence waterway, and those earthquakes are increasing in size, and also not just size, but the number of earthquakes as well. And Richard Smith says Baffin Bay to Canada and Greenland as well. Yeah. Baffin Bay has been having earthquakes as well. A lot of earthquakes. Does anybody have any questions here? I don't want to leave anybody with questions. I believe we need to have answers to all the questions. Yes, I will be here in 3.5 hours to take more questions and give you more information about what's going on worldwide. On Mondays and Thursdays, we typically talk about Cascadia, but because of everything else that's going on, we're talking about this right now. Like I said, I will be back this afternoon at just after 4 p.m., talking more about Cascadia, talking about what we talked about now. Now, folks, if you want to help support us, please give us a thumbs up about what we talked about today. Please thumbs up our program. Please also subscribe to our program. We may have some new viewers here. Please subscribe to our program when you do. There's a little bell icon. Click on that little bell icon. When you click on that little bell icon, a drop-down menu of 3 items are going to come up. Click on the word ALL. That way you should get notified when we come on the air. We do not come on the air frivolously. We do not come on the air frivolously. We come on the air mainly after 4 p.m. Eastern Time. When there's something else important to talk about, we will come on the air about it, though. Doesn't matter whether it's Monday morning, Wednesday, Tuesday morning, Friday morning, we'll come on the air and talk about it. Even Saturday or Sunday morning. We've done that. We've done that. When there's something emergent happen, we're going to be on the air about it. Okay? Also, if you want to help support our program, at the bottom of your screen here, the bottom of your screen right here, right there, you're seeing our Venmo and PayPal locations. I understand our Venmo doesn't work right now. We're trying to work on that. But our PayPal addresses here can receive donations, and we appreciate that very much. Very, very much. You also see our email address scrolling across the bottom of your screen below that. If you want to help us and send us comments or even criticisms or something that you would like to see us talk about, you can send it to our email address, rltnspdema@gmail.com. You also see our regular address, our postal address, 504 Bethel Road, Box 401. Morganton, North Carolina. The zip code here is 28655. 504 Bethel Road, Box 401, Morganton, North Carolina. The zip code here is 28655. We'd appreciate any and all support you can give us when you send us a letter or even a card. We got a card the other day I showed to you when it came in. If you send us a card or letter, please feel free to also slip a donation inside the card or letter. That would be greatly appreciated. Don't just put a donation in an envelope and send it. Write us a letter. Write us a little something. Write us a note. Tell us what you're thinking. Tell us what you want us to do. Also, tell us how you're preparing for any kind of emergency or disaster that could happen in your life. We want to share preparedness information. No, we will not use your name on the air unless you want us to. We want to share preparedness information. I share preparedness information with all of you. We'd also like to know what you're doing. But please put a donation inside your card or inside your letter and put it in an envelope and mail it to us. We greatly appreciate that as well. Okay? I want to thank you for helping support this program. It means a great deal to us to keep this program on the air. Okay? Thank you for that. We've had now over 110 people watching. I think we had 130 people watch a few minutes ago. Greatly appreciate it. Cassandra says she has to get back to work. Thank you for being here, Cassandra. God bless you. Richard Lyon says, my son's going to Seattle this weekend for a wedding. Will everything be okay in your mind? Right now, Richard, I believe it will, but I can't promise you anything. I can't control earthquakes. I can't control tornadoes. I can't control weather of any kind. But I think things might be fine this weekend. It might change. It might change. Let's pray for the safety of everybody. Let's pray for the safety of everybody. Okay? Earthquakes and natural disasters happen all the time without warning. Let's pray to God that He will spare people's lives. Now, guys, I hope you have a wonderful day, what's left of it. Like I said, we'll be back on the air just after 4 p.m. today with another episode of Emergency Management Associates. Until then, have a great day. God be with you until we meet again. We'll be on the other side. See you on the other side, guys.